I know that life isn't fair. Nobody promised it would be. We live in a fallen world. But you get to choose every single day whether or not you're going to submit to the fine. I say that fine is my least favorite 4-letter F word because I'm like, fine is the killer of joy. We stay in a fine marriage, a fine job, a fine energy level, a fine business that we really don't want to be in. And then we get to be 85 and we're like, gosh, I really miss my boat here, right? Recognize your fine as your light at the end of your shoe. Where am I just feeling fine and where do I know God wants better for me?
On today's episode of Empowered in Health, I have Dr. LaChelle Wieme here, and Dr. LaChelle and I actually just had an amazing conversation on her podcast. And so we're going to come over here and talk about all the things, unpack her brain, let her share her expertise, and really just dive into some incredible knowledge around not only faith, but also this concept of how do we break through overthinking? How do we make sure we're taking care of ourselves in the busyness of life and business and so much more? And how do we work through this idea of overcoming our excuses and making sure we're digging into the real momentum we deserve when it comes to not only our goals and dreams, but also what our needs are as women. So Dr. LaChelle, thank you so much for being here.
Erin, I'm so excited for a conversation. It's going to be so great.
It's going to be so great. And, you have just an incredible experience, story, kind of where you were to where you are now. And I'd love to start there. You started at a really high level career in medicine. Yeah. And, I want you to kind of talk about the moment you realized you needed to do something different. You learned more about entrepreneurship. And now you're a full-blown entrepreneur with books and a business and retreats and all the things. And so talk a little bit about that journey for you and kind of where you are now.
Oh my God. I literally wrote about this in my book, Get Out of God's Way, because I felt like I was in God's way of not realizing my potential and allowing myself to really step into everything that he said that he had for me and was waiting for me. And so what I would say is that my life was, I would say, everything I had wanted it to be, and it checked all the boxes, right? So I got married to my high school sweetheart. I was able to get into graduate school, became a nurse anesthetist, had 2 kids, a boy and a girl, both healthy, thankfully. And we were building our dream house as a 28-year-old woman. I had everything I ever wanted. And I decided that I wanted to go back to teaching. So I decided to become a faculty for the Doctor of Nurse Anesthesia program at my academic center that I was working. And that was the dream job that I had. So I was doing all the things. And I thought that everything that I'd ever wanted was right here. But at the root of it, that I didn't even have an understanding of at the time, was that I was tired, I was burnt out, and I was chasing my worth through degrees and job titles and committees and all the things to try to finally make me feel good. And what kind of changed for me, and it's kind of a funny story, but God does this. Like, he always is just like, trust me when he brings in like the weirdest, wackiest way to get your attention. But I was introduced to a skincare company in 2016. Now, Erin, I wasn't even washing my face, which is hilarious now when I think about it. But when I look back now in hindsight, I see that I wasn't washing my face because I didn't feel worthy enough of spending time or money on myself. Like whatever Pantene Pro-V happened to fall on my face in the shower was good enough for me. And one day I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my goodness, like I looked tired. I looked as tired as I felt, right? And I'm like, I'm too young to look like this. I need to do something about it. I reached out to my friend who had posted some things on Facebook. I'm like, I'm ready for some big girl skincare. And I tried it. And I remember thinking, I am going to do all of the things that she said because it had a 60-day money back guarantee. So I'm going to prove to her that this doesn't work. And then I'm going to send it back and I'm be on my merry way. Like I was so cheap because I couldn't spend the money on myself. Okay. Well, turns out it worked, probably because I was finally washing my face. Right. And I started to notice that I was standing up a little bit taller. I was leaving the house without makeup on for the first time. And I started to actually feel what confidence felt like, and realizing that once you feel that, you realize what it didn't feel like, but I didn't realize it because I was constantly looking for validation outside of me, not allowing myself to be me where I was. Now, the reality is that I decided that I was going to sell this skincare because I'm cheap. So I'm like, okay, there's a discount in this. But what it did, because God knew what I needed before I knew it. And so I am coachable, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I mean, I'm talking like 200 friends on Facebook. If I didn't know your mom, you didn't need to know my business. And I was too afraid of being seen and judged and all the stuff. So I didn't even post anything other than the occasional Toby Mac quote that I shared from a friend, right? And and so here I am like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be coachable. And I'm all of a sudden starting to get into the personal development that is required to be a business owner. And oftentimes we hear people say that, entrepreneurship is like personal development with a paycheck. And that's how it felt for me. And all of a sudden, I started to have this awareness of who I am and whose I am. And my body started coming alive, my brain started coming alive, my spirit. And I started to realize what is possible. Like God literally showed me what was possible. And I call that the and life. I was hearing all of these women and men that were explaining to me that they were able to, cut down at work or quit their jobs or be more present with their families. And I'm like, if they can do it, so can I. And I started to realize that, this life that I've built for myself, while it was everything that I thought I wanted, I'm the last mom that's showing up at the daycare center, hoping that I don't get charged to be a minute late. Like I'm constantly feeling like I'm letting everybody down, but yet nothing is ever good enough. And I have to go for the next thing at work, and I'm feeling out of balance. And it's like, gosh, there is something called the and life. I can be challenged and fulfilled and feel like I'm making a difference in the world and be a more present mom and wife. And that is like literally what opened the door for everything. And I feel like that has been the catalyst for everything that I do now, which at the bones of it is to helping other people realize that when you can trust God, that he's going to lead you to even better than what you can imagine, and you are willing to take those next aligned steps with him, he can take us to places beyond anything we could have ever imagined on our own. And that's what I want for people. But oftentimes we have to acknowledge that there are things within us that we haven't been able to allow or accept because maybe we haven't felt worthy enough of it.
It's so good. So good. I am curious. You said such a good thing about just this concept of trusting more, having faith that the path is going to be uncovered, that you're going to have the steps in front of you and, feel some sort of way to discern where you should be going.
Yeah.
Talk to the woman that struggles with that, this concept of, but I need to have it figured out, but I really got to know, but I need to have this perfect plan and I need to be controlling
100%.
Because I know for me, I've had that in my life where I feel like, but I got to control this.
Yeah.
In reality, we don't have control over anything.
Oh my gosh. Well, the thing is that it really comes down to trusting that God has your interest. That's even better than what you can imagine. I think that so oftentimes people think that if they surrender, that we will have to, sell all of our belongings and, like meditate all day long. Like that is not what he's asking you to do. Like my big vision that he's led me to is more visibility. It's writing books, it's being on stages, it's doing all the things that scared the Jeezers out of me, 10 years ago. But so he's given me a life beyond anything. I literally just got back from a 3-week vacation where I visited 6 tropical countries. Like you guys, like he has bigger things for us, but we have to be willing to trust that that's possible, right? Yeah. And possible for you, not just for everybody else. And I think that what I would say to the people who are trying to trust our discernment is, number one, knowing that you're already held, and to remember whose you are. Yeah. That you are the daughter of the King, and therefore he wants his children to be taken care of. And he loves you more than anything. And so just allowing that to give you the trust to let go. I think that the control thing really comes, Erin, from our nervous system and our fear of not being safe. And so we feel like the more we control, the safer we feel. And so really when it comes to our nervous system, we have to be able to give ourselves grace to slowly work into stretching it, even 1% a day, to proving to ourselves like we are safe and that it's going to be okay. And I mean, I bring back my Facebook example. Like I said earlier, like I will tell you that if I didn't know your mom, you didn't need to see my stuff. Like that's how I was just so afraid of being judged and whatever. Yeah. And I had to start putting myself out there if I was going to make this work. And I remember starting to post the Jesus Calling devotionals in my church private group, and I was getting tons and tons of like really great feedback. And one day I decided that I'm going to be brave enough to post it on my real page.
Yeah.
And I feared that people were going to think like, oh my gosh, like who is she? Just thinks that she's, you know, this big religious person, and she's going to judge me, and all the things that some people have misconceptions about. And I still to this day get messages of like, thank you so much for posting that devotional. It literally got me through the day. I had to get over myself. Right. But in that small, tiny step of just posting a devotional on my Facebook page, I started getting confirmation. Like, number one, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't spontaneously combust. Not all my friends and family disowned me or abandoned me. Nobody is coming up to me and saying anything weird. In fact, it's the opposite. And so I had to prove to myself that it's safe. Right. So I think that just give yourself some grace in that, because the control really does come down to the fear that I won't be able to handle it.
Yes.
And then it can also be a reminder to yourself, and we can get into this a little bit more in detail later, but that mindset and reminding yourself of all the opportunities that you've had in the past to prove to yourself that you're capable of it and that you can handle it. And I do want to get into that. But the discernment piece that you were talking about, in my particular situation, like I said, it was wacky of all things, like skincare, really. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. So once I tried it, and it was working, and I started to feel differently and carry myself differently, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm like, I need to share this with other people. People need to experience this. Yeah. And I couldn't stop thinking about it, but it was so different than anything I'd ever done before. I'm a shy, awkward introvert. I have a busy calendar. I'm actually finishing up my doctorate degree. I'm in the last semester, taking twice the credit load. Like, my husband's a teacher, and it was fall, and he was going to be in sports. Like, it was the worst time to start a business, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was like, well, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'm going to trust that you're going to quit me. And I'm just going to trust you one single step at a time. And it was one tiny courage step of posting this or talking to this or doing this. And all of a sudden I proved to myself that I was safe and that I was capable and that he always had me. Right. And it's so the discernment can be something as simple as just, what are you continuing to think about that you can't get off of your mind? And just praying and saying, I need you to have me here. Right. But I think too, I want to just acknowledge that sometimes people want this burning bush moment where they want like neon signs that say, you need to do this, right? Like, do this way. Right. Right. And I got to just remind you guys that God wants an intimate relationship with us. And so if all of a sudden you were sitting on your couch and you heard, Erin, do this now, you would be like, what the heck? Right. And you'd like think you're going crazy. Yeah. So he wants us to lean into his whispers. He whispers slightly, softly, calmly to our spirit. He wants the intimacy of us leaning in, saying, I can't quite hear you. What was that? Right. And allowing that to happen. So you guys just like trust that you get the experience of the intimacy as you allow that to grow and you start to trust that. I would also say that start paying attention to your gut. Yeah. Because our subconscious is what's connected to God. So when we pray, we actually get into theta brainwaves. And that's when we can pray, ask for guidance, and then listen to what he's trying to say. Our subconscious is also the part that handles our body functions. It's the part that's digesting my breakfast. It's the part that's moving my hand as I'm talking without me thinking about it. Right. So God actually can use our body to speak to us if we slow our roll down enough to actually listen. And that was one of the things I wrote about in the book, is that I would ask for help. I'm like, God, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And then finally he was like, LaChelle, I'm trying to answer you, but girlfriend, you have to slow down and listen. And that's when I started to incorporate my prayer time, just quiet, silence, and let thoughts just come into my mind and allow my gut, my body to lean in and tell me what I should do. And when I say discernment and embody, there's several different ways that I teach my clients how to do this. And I actually teach them how to ask yes, no questions. And allow their body to answer them. It's really freaking cool. And it gives people the trust in themselves. And I have them start with things that are low stakes, learning to trust, learning to let their nervous system accept it. But a simple one that you guys can all try right now today is asking, should I do this? And allowing your body to give you the feeling of expansiveness, which is, for me, expansiveness feels like I am able to breathe bigger. It feels like my spirit is saying, yes, let me out of here. Yeah. It's like this big, beautiful expansion. I oftentimes get like full body shivers when it's a yes. When it's a no, for me, it's almost like somebody's sitting on my chest. It's almost like somebody's taking my spirit and trying to put it into a tiny box. It's like this suffocating feeling and an ickiness in my stomach. And it's like a no. And so I can ask God, I'm like, should I do this? And then I stop and I listen and I let him tell me through my body. And I will tell you, he will pull us towards truth and away from untruth.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of practicing that. Even practicing something as simple as, is my name LaChelle?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, do I live in Minnesota?
Yep.
And allowing yourself to learn how it feels when you ask questions that you already know the answer to.
Yeah.
And then asking insignificant questions like, should I have this for lunch? Yes or no? And I mean, you and I both know, like, our body kinesiology wise can actually tell us if a food is good for us or not, right? Like, so there's so much with this. And so just allowing yourself to play with that and trust and trust and trust. So all of a sudden one day where I'm like, all right, God, I am ready to quit my 20-year anesthesia career that is literally giving me the pension and the lifestyle and all the things that I want, because I know you have bigger for me.
Yeah.
And I had learned to trust that enough to take that big step. And Erin, I will tell you, it is bonkers, cool, wild, all the things that it worked. But I left September 2nd of 2022. Within 6 months, I had co-authored a book and written a solo book. Wow. I had been on stage 3 times across the country. I hosted my very first luxury retreat, all within 6 months.
Wow. It's amazing.
It had better for me than I could have ever imagined. But I had to be willing to start to trust him and to let those steps happen.
It's so good. You know, the thing that is sticking out to me the most, because one of the things I know you teach on so much in your work is this idea of building confidence, building self-trust, you know, starting to get connected to whose you are, like you've talked about. Yeah. And the 2 things that have stuck out to me the most in what you just shared were, one, the power of starting small and simple. And that's what your skincare story is. That's what it is. It's you're starting small and you're starting simple with little teeny things that actually add up to these massive transformations and results, which is one of the things I want women to understand, because I know we talked about this in our conversation on your podcast. We get into this all or nothing mindset where we have to go, it's got to be everything all at once and this massive transformation or this massive commitment. Yes. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves asking, what am I doing? And why do I feel so burned out? And why is this so stressful? It's because we haven't gone small and simple, which can make huge transformations. And the other thing for me that you talked about was just the value of slowing down. And getting quiet and intentional. And if you're in a place in your life where you're trying to build confidence, you're trying to dig into self-trust, you're trying to connect to your purpose or get to this next layer of figuring out, what do you want your life to feel like? Because it's not about what it looks like. It's, what does it feel like to you? And where are you being called to go?
Yes.
The way you actually start to identify that and discern it, like you've talked about, is through slowing down and being mindful enough and quiet enough so you can actually start to feel where you're being called and led.
Yes.
And I can't love that enough, LaChelle, because those are the simple things I want women to remember, especially when you're thinking about business, when you're thinking about relationships, when you're thinking about health. These are the small tactical things that make a difference.
Right.
And these are the things that can actually help you start to transform in whatever way you're feeling like you need to maybe go in your life or you're feeling called in your life.
Yes.
And so just appreciate that transparency, because that's really what it is. It's the small things and it's getting quiet enough to hear.
Yes, 100%. I mean, I oftentimes say that God will possibly show us, like, for a moment, what the top of the mountain looks like. He'll give us a 360 view. That's the vision, like, that you're like, I just know in my heart that I'm capable of this. Maybe it's health, maybe it's, professionally, doesn't matter. But then he doesn't show you every single step of the way up the mountain. Because if he did, you'd be like, that looks scary. That looks hard. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
right? And so what does he do? He brings you right back to where you started, and he puts tiny little lamps in the toes of your shoes, and he asks you to trust me one step at a time.
Yep.
And then he'll reveal the next step. And then the next step. And I think that you had also brought up that, people oftentimes overthink because they want everything perfect. They want everything ready. And it's like the wellness journey that you might take people on. I'm like, well, once I get the shoes, or once I get down to this weight, then I'm going to do that. Or once the first of the year comes along, then I'm going to do like all the things that we wait. And clarity comes from action.
Yeah.
Clarity comes from, I did a thing, and now I'm like, I liked that. I didn't like that. That worked. That didn't. But you wouldn't have that information if you had never started. So for you to expect that everything is going to be this, I mean, I have clients all the time that are like, oh, LaChelle, I've gone to all of these other people, and I just had this feeling that I was going to be able to like select this one thing and I was going to ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, maybe, but maybe God wants to teach you how to walk through the valley and through tall grass to get your muscles strong so that you're going to be able to handle the ascent of that one thing over there.
Yes.
And allowing yourself to build both the clarity and the confidence from action, and allowing those tiny little actions to take you to the next step, and then celebrate. This is something that I don't think we talk about enough.
Right.
We take an action and then we're on to the next thing.
Yes.
Like I'm going to meet the next goal. I'm going to do like slow down, friends, and be like, I just did that. I just got out of bed today when my alarm went off and I put my tennis shoes on. Like that's a big deal for me. That might not be a big deal for her, but it was for me. And I'm going to celebrate this.
Yes.
I'm going to celebrate this win. I'm down 2 pounds. I haven't been down 2 pounds in years. I am going to celebrate this.
Yes.
Because what we are grateful for, God wants to continue to bless us with more of. But if we just dismiss it and just move on to the next thing, he's like, just appreciate the manna that I gave you today.
Yeah.
Be filled with it, enjoy it, and then trust that I'm going to bring it to you tomorrow, and then be thankful for it, enjoy it, be in gratitude for it.
We'll get back to our conversation shortly after this message. If you are an overwhelmed and completely confused mom who just wants a simplified, easy to follow, and understandable plan when it comes to their health and wellness journey, then you're in the right place. As a wellness coach, I focus most on empowering women to follow a highly personalized and bio-individual plan that actually gets you results and that feels sustainable for your longevity. I'd love to invite you to set up a free coaching call to talk about your health and wellness journey. Head to erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call today. Again, that URL is erinshreer.com/coaching to set up your call. And to make it even easier, head to the show notes of this podcast and click free coaching session to set up your call ASAP. Now let's dive back into the conversation. Such a good reminder. This is a perfect segue into, I know you talked about clarity comes from action.
Yeah.
However, action cannot always be easy, right? And I know one of the things you teach is this concept of kicking your own butt, B-U-T, your B-U-T, right? And essentially like figuring out, what are my excuses? Why are my excuses there? What am I hiding behind? Why am I doing that? I'd love for you to share a little bit more about this, because when we think about clarity comes from action. However, we know that at times we don't take action because we have excuses, because we have roadblocks, because we don't have money, because whatever, insert blank.
Right.
This comes up, right? Especially for women, especially in business and especially in health. I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about how do you move from stuck to momentum, and how do you kind of guide people through this?
No, totally. I love that so much. Okay. So it's funny, Erin, that we are even talking about this, because I feel like my own philosophy is evolving to this beautiful place that I hope that this is even more clear for all of you guys. So I always say that we all have big butts, and I cannot lie, like bring in my 90s childhood into this conversation. But
so good.
We do. We say we want something, but I would love to quit my job, but I would love to lose that weight, but, right? And so it's like, well, do you really want to do that or not? So it's just that acknowledgement of like, I have a big butt. Like there is a but, an excuse that's in my way, right? So I think that acknowledgement of that is huge. Now, I used to say that we need to figure out, where is the but coming from? What is the root cause of that but? And in fact, like I have myself, I'm a certified coach, as well as I have coaches on my team that will take people through a process. It's really powerful, where we can identify the moment in time from a 5-minute to 24-hour period where a limiting belief was planted.
Yep.
And from that moment in time, I can actually neutralize it energetically so that you're not continuing to trigger it. And then I can plant the seed of truth, God's truth, in its place and teach you how to water it. It's really powerful. So like, what are the buts that are holding us back? Okay. Now, Erin, this is my philosophy that I've taken on, that God has really revealed to me lately, is that what we focus on grows. And if I'm constantly looking at why I'm not doing something, I'm just energizing the why I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
When in reality, it can actually be simpler than that. And where I'm going with this is that I believe that we get to decide to remember who we are, and we operate from that program. Okay. So let me expand upon this. Okay. I believe that all of us, within us, every single cell of our body has pure love, God's energy. God is living inside of us. Jesus taught us that the kingdom of God is within us, right? And that at every single center of our cells is the beautiful power of God, who is ready to express life through us. Okay. And I believe that all of us have these beautiful, unique skills and passions and things that we were born with and things that we've acquired and generational, beautiful gifts that we've been able to take from our ancestors. And it's almost like we all have this statue of David that is beautifully placed inside of us. But what happens is like Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of my mind. I believe that, like the statue of David that Michelangelo carved out of rock, he had to carve out the rock, and he says that I saw an angel and I set him free, right? He carved out the patterns of this world are blocking your statue of David.
Yeah.
But the statue of David is in there. And in the part of you that is beautifully divine and whole and full of love is waiting to operate in your identity as the person that you get to be every day. It's not what we do or have, it's who we be, who are being in order to do and then have, right? And so this is really where I just get to, and I know it sounds almost too simple, but it's so unbelievably powerful when you allow this to take place, where you just decide, who do you want to be? Do I want to be the person that continues to let excuses run my show? Or do I want to be the person who says, I'm going to do it and I do it?
Yep.
Do I want to be the person that is playing around with my grandkids someday when I have them? Am I going to be the person that gets up when my alarm goes off? I'm going to be the person that drinks water instead of beer. I mean, for real.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of like deciding who we are at our identity and allowing that to be the guiding principle of how we behave, how we respond to people. So when I think about it, I actually do this really amazing work. It's called an identity recalibration treatment. Yeah. And I'm able to help somebody identify who they want to be in a short period of time. And then we essentially activate that identity within them in order for them to operate. And it's so cool because when people are able to describe what that person is like imagine yourself 3 years from now, 5 years from now. What does she look like? What does she feel like? What kind of clothes is she wearing? Yeah. What are her daily habits? When does she get up in the morning? Who's around her? And then really embodying that identity and then asking yourself, well, what does she do? Does she get nervous when she's about to do this, or does she just do it as a queen? Does she make excuses, or does she just do it? No, she does it. Does she allow herself to rest when she needs it? She absolutely does, because she doesn't have anything to prove to anybody else.
Right.
And so identifying who you want to be and then allowing that to be your guiding principle to help you make decisions or respond to people. Like I had a recent, in the last year, something that was ended up being a legal situation with this person. And I chose every single day to just send her love. Yeah. Send her love. Send her love. Could I have been mad? Could I have been resentful? Could I, been ornery? Absolutely. But I just sent her love. Out of the blue, I got a text message this week and she's like, I would like to end all of this and I would like to call you if I can and apologize. What?
Yeah. Wow.
But I had to decide who I was going to respond as, the bitter person that's mad and, angry, or do I want to respond as my highest self, the queen? Now, is that always easy? Heck no.
No.
It's not. And I'm not trying to oversimplify this, but it can be simple.
Yeah.
If you're like, okay, do I want to operate as somebody who, and this is where I can take people down this process where when our suffering is really the gap between the way life is and the way we want it to be.
Yeah.
And when we recognize that gap, we are the ones who are creating our own suffering because we're expecting something outside of ourselves to be different than it is.
Yeah.
So I have to ask myself, and this is where your work comes in so beautifully, is that I get to ask myself when I'm wishing something was different, my weight, my energy, my business, my relationships, what can I do to increase my peace and my power? Because I can't control anybody else. I can only control me. And it's amazing when we keep showing up as our best self, how it impacts people without us even realizing how, until one day you get a random text message out of nowhere. I promise you guys this works over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Who do I have to be to hold my peace and my power?
That's so good. It's so good. And the thing that I love the most is how you're giving very intentional permission to choose that. Mm-hmm. And in the work that I do, and even in my own journey, I can literally sit here right now and think about the times when I wasn't doing that.
Oh yeah.
And when I recognize when others aren't doing that. And instead of kind of stepping into this place of who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to respond? What can I essentially continue to call in? Instead, we let all this noise and life over here dictate what that actually looks like. Mm-hmm. When in reality, it can be in the reverse, is what I'm hearing and what you're saying, which is so powerful.
You're your own guru, guys. Like, stop letting everybody else define who you get to be. You get to choose. And this is the thing, like, Erin, I'm such a nerd. So if you guys are actually watching this episode, you see that I'm surrounded by books. Like, I love books, and I am a big, giant nerd. And every single one of these is nonfiction, and it's something I had to learn because I wanted to, right?
I love it.
And if I look at every single conversation that I have with a successful person, I've been doing my podcast for over 6 years. When I think about the books that I've read, the podcasts I've listened to, the things that I've taken in, there's one common theme, that I've noticed through every single one of them. You guys want to know what that is? It's that successful people, or people that have lived a good life, have chosen to rise above their circumstances instead of allowing themselves to stay victim to them.
Yeah.
And at some point, you have to just decide. I know that life isn't fair. Nobody promised it would be. We live in a fallen world. But you get to choose every single day whether or not you're going to submit to the fine. I say that fine is my least favorite 4-letter F word, because I'm like, fine is the killer of joy. We stay in a fine marriage, a fine job, a fine energy level, a fine business, a fine job that we really don't want to be in. Yeah. And then we get to be 85 and we're like, gosh, I really miss my boat here. Right. Yeah. Recognize your fine as your light at the end of your shoe. Where am I just feeling fine? And where do I know God wants better for me?
Yeah.
And then where do I get to choose to take the next simple aligned action, improve my safety, improve my ability to see that I'm capable of it, and then do the same thing again tomorrow.
It's so good. And so good. And I want to make sure we recall this, because it's so important for listeners to hear this. Dr. LaChelle is literally calling us to make the choices that we deserve. And it's so easy to get bogged down, tell ourselves a story, get sucked into our circumstances, play the victim, sit in like the fine, like you said. Mm-hmm. And in reality, we really do have the capability to say, I want to step into something more because I know that it's there for me, but I have to trust that it's there. Yeah. And I have to trust and actually follow the path and the plan. And I just appreciate you challenging that narrative, because I think especially in the world we live in, this can be something that a lot of people just kind of stick with. And I can literally sit here right now and say, I know when I was sitting in those kinds of seasons, and I know what it took to essentially start to get to this place of understanding, this is not where I'm meant to be. This is not what I'm being called to do. This is not enough, really.
Right. No, 100%.
And it's so important to allow yourself to expand to that degree, because when you do, there's a lot on the other side that you can't even imagine.
Right.
And we have to remember that. Right.
No, I mean, all of the things that you just said are so unbelievably powerful. And I think about, like, I just want you guys all to know, like, I still have my places that I'm stuck. And I will say that, like, I've always been very, very fit when it comes to my mind and my spirituality. But when it comes to taking care of my body, I haven't always been as consistent.
Yeah.
And so I just want you guys to know that, like, I'm walking along this with you, right? And when I talked about my butts, and there is a lot of power in recognizing where that came from. So I'm just going to be real honest with you guys that I have, I injured my foot. I don't even know how in 2007. I had a lot of chronic pain with that, my back, just different parts of my body. I've had a tumor in my ear when I was a kid, so I had this belief, this identity that my body was a lemon.
Yeah.
And that my body, because it was already broken, wasn't worthy of my time and my attention to actually take care of it.
Yeah.
And wow. And then I had to come to this realization, like, who do I want to be? And I had to allow one of my somatic coaches on my team, she asks this question of our clients a lot, and I'm going to do the same. Like, if your body could talk to you, what would it say?
Yeah.
If your foot could talk to you, what would it say? Right. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, when I allowed myself to ask that question, it said, I just want you to recognize that all of the things that you're doing is because I have held it for you.
Yeah.
And I could start to look at my body as resilient and strong, not a lemon, not broken.
Yeah.
And then allowing that identity to be, I am a person who honors my body. I'm a person who loves to take care of my body and my mind and my spirit.
Yeah.
And so I get you guys. I understand.
Yeah.
But that power of the identity of who do I get to be, and what do I want out of my life, and how do I get to show up as a person who makes those decisions.
Yeah.
And then makes them and then follows through on them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, everything will start to change if you start to pay attention to who you're being.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That question of what would your body say if you asked it, like, what would it say? What would it say as far as, like, how you've been treating me or what you've been saying to me? Mm-hmm. That is such a powerful, reflective question, especially when I sit through the lens of thinking about women's health specifically, and all the conditioning we've been through, all the messaging and marketing we've managed, all the things that have infiltrated our lives for so long, for decades, that are so deep rooted that we don't even recognize they're there. And so all the work you're talking about, LaChelle, is really pausing enough to give yourself permission to identify what are these deep-rooted things that are keeping you stuck, that are keeping you in survival, that are keeping you stressed, that are not serving your highest self, that you actually can call to the surface and change if you get intentional enough to pay attention.
Absolutely.
I can't love that enough. And, I know one of the things that you also do in your work is more of this neuroscience, which you've talked a little bit about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to make sure we touch on this too, because everything you're talking about is, your process with getting rid of your butts, and, how do you step into building more unshakable confidence? How do you build more clarity through taking action? How do you make sure you're living in more of this aligned place? And I know neuroscience, alongside faith, business, and what you're in your life is a huge part of your work. And so talk to us a little bit about, with all of the concepts you've already shared, which are obviously rooted in neuroscience in some capacity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
what else can you share with us about some of those practices and how you can pull them into doing some of this work and making it a little bit more tangible or actionable for people that are listening?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So all the things that I do are rooted in like my secret sauce, I guess, is brain science, quantum physics, and scripture. Like, and how once I started to notice the intersections of all three of those disciplines, literally pointing the direction of where we need to go, everything started to change for myself, my business, and the people I was helping. So for sure. So when it comes to the neuroscience part, I want to just point out that it's really easy for us to get caught up in the loops because of that's how our brain is designed. Okay. So let me tell you what I mean by that. There's a part of our brain called the reticular activating system that has been designed for efficiency.
Yeah.
And it filters out things in the world that don't matter, because that would just, if I noticed everything, if I noticed how my clothes felt on my skin, I noticed how like everything, my brain couldn't process all that. Right. Yeah. So I'm literally thankful for my RAS for keeping things efficient. So it filters things out that are seemingly unimportant. So what does it determine importance? It determines importance by what your programming is and your belief systems. Now, what's interesting is that our brains are in theta brainwave until we're about 7 years old. Theta is that same brainwave that happens when you're between that wakefulness and sleepiness. And that's also what happens when you meditate and pray.
Yeah.
Very, very, we're like sponges. Okay. So much though of our programming happens before we're even 7 years old.
Yeah.
And so then you have this predetermined idea of how the world works and how you fit in the world.
Yeah.
And your brain will look for evidence to support its case, and it will ignore evidence that does not align with that.
Yeah.
So if I believe that I have to work hard for money, I will see evidence to prove me right all around me.
Yep.
But I will ignore the fact that there are people who make money very wealthy without having to be a slave to it. Yep. Right? Yep. If I believed that, you know, my exercising wasn't like a thing in my family when we were kids, and I grew up on a farm in you know, Minnesota, so it was a lot of casseroles and meat and potatoes and all the things, right? So I was never really taught how to use food as fuel. It was just like what was convenient, cheap, and you know, yummy, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I'm going to ignore all of those things until I have to override my RAS. And you can do that. So Erin, if I told you, or if I asked you actually, the last time you went to the grocery store, how many red cars did you pass?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you drove to the store today,
yep,
you would notice red cars.
Yeah.
The red cars were unimportant, and her reticular activating system never even registered them in her awareness. But the moment that we choose to register that, we'll start to notice things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to challenge you guys to ask yourself, what code, what programming do I have running in my background? And who do I want to be?
Yep.
Okay. And so if I can start to allow my brain to start looking for the red cars, where's Waldo, right? Looking for evidence that proved to me that I'm already her.
Yep.
That I'm already capable, you can start to think back, well, I guess I did do a good job that, like, well, I guess, you know, I did write that book, or I guess, you know, this person did say I did a good job with this. You can start to find evidence to support your ideal beliefs.
Yeah.
Versus just being sucked into the loop that you were before, right? Yeah. I also want to highlight another favorite part of my brain that I like to use for my advantage is called my mirror neurons. Mirror neurons cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Yeah. Okay. So that's why if I told you, Erin, to imagine that you and I were standing on the edge of a plane ready to jump off. Yeah. Did your hands get sweaty a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Your heart started to beat a little bit faster?
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, and like, we're not even on a plane, guys, but our body automatically started to react as if we were there.
Yep.
Those are mirror neurons at action. So what happens when we worry about our kids getting in an accident, or we worry about our boss, or we worry that if I tell him this, then this is going to happen? We're literally using our mirror neurons to our disadvantage, and we're getting ourselves worked up over something that isn't even real.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that it's a thing. So how about we start using it to our advantage?
Yeah.
So this is where I would love for you guys to start embodying that version of her. And one of the things that I have my clients do when I have them resync and recalibrate their identity is in the morning, I want you to imagine how you want your day to be. Set your intention for the day. What do you have on your calendar that you are ready to show up as her?
Yeah.
And I want you to visualize in your mind's eye as if it is playing out like a movie in front of you. Let's just say that you're going to talk to your boss about a raise, and you imagine walking into his office, and you imagine stepping in as the most confident version of you. And you imagine him or her listening to you, and they're like, you're right. This is long overdue. I really think you've done a good job. And you're like, I know, right? And this is why. And then you imagine that you get out of that office and you call your husband and you're like, oh my gosh, guess what just happened? And then you guys go out for supper at your favorite restaurant. And you can taste your favorite food in your mouth, and you're allowing your senses to come in. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. And now it says, well, that's just a memory. Yep. And you're more likely then to show up in that circumstance acting as if you were her because you've already rehearsed it.
Yeah.
And so that means that at night before you go to bed, if you're really struggling to get out of bed and work out, maybe you imagine yourself waking up and the alarm going off and you being excited to get your tennis shoes on. And you imagine yourself being on that elliptical and you feel good and you get off and you feel empowered and you're ready to start the day. And you look over at your husband and you're like, oh my gosh, like that was the best workout ever. And you go on with the rest of the day and you imagine that. You are more likely to get up and experience that version of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So
because
good.
of your brain. So
yeah, it's so good. I love hearing again how powerful the brain is.
Yes.
Especially because we don't recognize what's happening underneath the surface inside of our bodies from sun up to sundown, most of which we don't really have control over. There's so much happening. From a neurological standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from a physical standpoint,
right,
all the way down to how the body functions overall. Like there's so much happening subconsciously. And I love when we have conversations where someone like you is calling to attention that you can actually change what's happening with your thought patterns. You can change, how you show up, what you think about, what you're dreaming up about, what your situation is. Right. Because we feel like, I don't know if you've experienced this, but there's been moments where I feel like I can't change it. There is nothing I can do. Oh, 100%. Actually, there's a lot you can do, which I love that you've normalized.
Well, it is. And I think that you have to be able to believe that it's possible for you. Yeah. And I think that it's really easy for us to look on Facebook or Instagram and say, well, this is working for everybody else, but is it really possible for me? Yeah. If I truly believed it was possible for me, then I would for sure absolutely get into action. Yep. But sometimes we believe that it's maybe possible for everybody else, right? Yeah. Yep. And so I think you have to believe that it's possible for you and then make the choice to do what you can do from where you are with what you have.
Yes, 100%.
And yeah, I think that something that you just said too made me want to just acknowledge this part. That again, we live in a fallen world, like nothing is perfect. And so it's very easy to get sucked back into old patterns. And so I'm just going to ask you, what does your environment look like? Yep. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you surrounding yourself with? If I eat crappy food, I'm around toxic people who complain and gossip all day. If all I watch is super stressful reality TV, it's no wonder you feel like crap. Yep. So create an environment where you're feeding your brain with really positive podcasts like Erin's, allowing your environment to be filled with easy access and simple to prepare fresh food, allowing yourself to surround yourself with people who love you for who you are and love that you're growing. Yeah. Giving yourself the opportunity to use what you can in your environment to support the person that you want to be. Yeah. And because oftentimes if we don't, if my tennis shoes and my workout clothes are right next to my bed in the morning, I'm more likely to get up. If my alarm clock is in in the bathroom instead of in next to my bed, I'm more likely to get up and shut it off, right?
Yeah.
How can you use your environment to support who you need to be while you are allowing her to develop? And the more you do it, the more it's going to just come natural to you.
Yeah.
But you have to choose too.
Yeah, you have to choose. And this has been so good. That was just incredible. And I'm so grateful for your incredible knowledge, Dr. LaChelle. Last question I want to ask you before we wrap up is for the woman listening to this who maybe feels stuck. She feels overwhelmed. She feels stuck. She's living in a lot of stress in her life, you know, between everything she's managing in business and motherhood and all the things. She just doesn't know like what her next step should be to start to step into some of the things you've been talking about. What would be the one piece of advice you would give to her?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm going to have two, and they're not going to be as practical as you guys want, but they're going to be foundational. Okay.
Love it.
So the first thing that you have to acknowledge is that you are worthy.
Yep.
Because if you don't believe that you're worthy, you're not going to take the actions. So you have to believe that it's for you, that you are capable of it, you're worthy of it. And then the second thing, I know it's super simple, but you have to choose, because nobody is living your life for you.
Yep.
Nobody is going to make you do anything. Your successes and your failures are not the result of anybody else but you. Yep. And that's the good news and the bad news. But the good news is that is on you to control, and that you get to create your new narrative.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to just empower all of you guys to decide, like, is this the way that I want to live for the next 10 years?
Yep.
And if the answer is no, then what can I do today to help me get there? And I mean, this is kind of simple, but I have an easy button in my office.
I love it.
I share with clients all the time. I'm like, well, if it was easy, what would you do?
Yep.
So once you identify that you're worthy enough to try, and then you make the freaking decision to do it,
yep.
then the next very simple step is, what is one simple thing? If it was easy, what would I do?
Yep.
If it was easy, what would I do? Well, I guess I would just get my tennis shoes out. Okay, awesome. Do that. Great. Celebrate that. Now, if it was easy, then what would you do? If it was easy, I'll call Erin and I'll have a consult.
Yeah.
If it was easy, I would call LaChelle and have her figure out like what I need to do to get out of my butts. The point is that you guys, like, know you're worthy, make the decision, and then ask yourself, what is the next simple step? If it was easy, what would I do?
Oh my gosh. Could not have literally said that any better. And so much truth to that. Dr. LaChelle, again, thank you so much for your incredible time today. Will you quickly share how people can connect with you and where they can find you online to learn more about your work?
Absolutely. Okay. So I keep everything really simple. So everything is my name, but my name is not simple. So I guess that we're going to have to go there. But LaChelle Wieme, so it's LaChelleWieme.com. You can find me at LaChelle Wieme on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, like all of the places, LinkedIn. So yeah, so just like look for my name, and I know that Erin will have it in the show notes, and it's right here. It's LaChelleWieme. And I'm just really excited to connect with you guys. Like, don't be a stranger. Like, I want to hear from you. Let me know what was impactful and how I can pray for you, how I can support you. Like, we're in this together.
I love that. And yes, we will have everything linked in the show notes. So if you are interested in learning more from Dr. LaChelle and her work, or just want to connect so you can get some of this amazing energy every single day, please do so. And again, LaChelle, thank you so much for your time today. You're incredible.
Absolutely. Oh my God, you're so welcome. And you guys, if you found that this is helpful, I just caught an image of it behind me, but my book, Get Out of God's Way, will give you a lot of it's a very practical application, and there's a free workbook that comes with it. So I would love to invite you guys to just go to Amazon and look for it. So
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Bye.
Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I know balancing time and energy can be a challenge, and I'm so proud of you for listening in and investing in your wellness journey. I feel incredibly grateful to connect with you and for the opportunity to share more knowledge, stories, and encouragement related to all things wellness. I would love to hear how this podcast has served you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review on either iTunes or Spotify. Your support truly means the world to me and helps me reach more women just like you and me who are looking to transform their health from the inside out. Plus, when you share this episode with a friend, we invite more women in to learn alongside us. What a gift. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we know, the better we can do. For ourselves, for our families, and our future. Well done on taking the step towards a healthier, happier you. Until next week, stay empowered and stay well.